Welcome to Draft Daily, presented by the DC Lottery, your DC Sports Live crew. Nick Ashew, Alexa Shaw, and Wes Hall, joined by the one and only Santana Moss. We spent a lot of time last night together going through this draft. And so let's just start there, guys. Let's start there with our first reactions to what we saw last night. Santana, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm ecstatic about the pick. We came into this draft knowing or hoping that we knew that the Redskins would select Chase Young at number 2. And just to have him now, he's finally been picked. I'm just looking forward to what this guy can do for our defense. I talked about early that he might be that missing puzzle piece that he was looking for. And I think every year we've been building, trying to, find the right guys that we can build with to be potentially one day one of those playoff teams. So I'm just ecstatic knowing that he's finally home with us, and he has a lot of guys that's ready to see him go to work with.
So it's going to be twofold for me because clearly Chase Young, the right pick at number 2. I don't think there's anybody on this show, I don't think there's really anybody, period, that wouldn't like that pick at number 2. He is the guy. He has a chance to be a game wrecker, and who knows, maybe a future Hall of Famer if we're lucky enough. There's also a bad side of this, and it's out of the Redskins' control. But after Chase Young, I'm watching tackle after tackle after tackle get drafted by teams that were clearly trade targets for them where they could maybe use Trent Williams. And then I watched CeeDee Lamb go to the Cowboys thinking the Redskins may need more in that secondary to now go after Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. So it's great that they have Chase Young. I'm ecstatic. That was a great pick. But then I watched these other things happen going, it's a mixed bag of emotions for me after what happened last night.
Listen, Nick, I'm a TCU Horned Frog. I had to deal with CeeDee Lamb on the other side of the ball. I know how that is, and it doesn't end well for people. And I agree with you. The other takeaway from last night was all those tackles going off the board early. We saw the Bucks take one. And Santana, you were saying on our show last night, you thought that was a potential spot for Trent to land. I think there's still one more team out there, probably others as well, because like we've talked about, left tackles is a priority in this league. But I see the Chargers at the top of the list. They got their quarterback, Justin Herbert. They need their left tackle now. I need both sides to compromise and come to an agreement and make this trade be done finally. But I'm super happy about number 2, Chase Young. We could finally say he's a Redskin, so I'm smiling.
I'm smiling, and so is his entire family. Matter of fact, we got to give a shout out to everybody who was in charge of cleaning the house, literally. Since it was a virtual draft, somebody had to keep the house clean, knowing that the entire world was going to be watching. So shout out to Mom, Dad, whoever was like, clean up your room. Thumbs up to you. But, guys, one of the things that we appreciate about Chase Young and this whole virtual draft is that there's been some semblances of normalcy, just a little bit. And that's why we were fortunate enough to catch up with Chase Young right after he got picked.
It's crazy, man. It started from when I was young. My dad, my mom always said, it takes a village to raise, a kid. And I feel like this is my village right here. This is how I grew up, and this is who helped me get to where I am today.
What's it like to see? You knew it was going to happen. What's it like when you actually see your name and know it's happening? You're going to the Redskins.
It felt good, man. I still can't put it in words right now. I think it's going to hit me soon. I don't think it hit me yet, just the way I'm responding to it. But I'm definitely grateful, and I'm blessed, and I just appreciate everybody being out here tonight.
Last question: this fan base has a very strong core, but they've also had a lot of people that have been sour the last couple of years. What would you have to say to those people who've been on the fence as a Redskins fan?
I showed you guys what I could do in college, and I'm definitely going to put my best foot forward and try to do the same thing in the NFL. The only thing I'm trying to do is go and be a sponge and, just be the best player that I can be.
Welcome back to Draft Daily, presented by the DC Lottery. It's your DC Sports Live crew, along with Santana Moss, breaking everything down about this 2020 NFL Draft. Of course, we talked about the number 2 pick was Chase Young. Welcome to DC, or welcome back to DC. But obviously, the draft continues on. So there's today and tomorrow as well. I'll start with you, Santana. What are you looking for the Redskins to do? Obviously, understanding that as right now, they don't have a second-round pick.
Yeah, that was something that I forgot about coming into this moment. But, I'm still looking forward to hopefully getting someone out there at left tackle. I'm not so sure that we have to worry that much about tight end position, but you will hope that they can find someone out there, some down in the rough. But I think the cornerback position is the position that we really need to really, hone in on, because I believe that having those guys up front, yes, that's fine and dandy. I'm loving what we have at, our defensive front, but we need to find those guys on the back end to really solidify that defense. And the cornerback position, it's a lot of great talent out there, so I'm looking forward for us picking up someone.
Yeah, we talked about that last segment where you look at the Cowboys now with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. You're going to need that in the division. But on top of the secondary, and look, we know coming into this, the Redskins have had multiple positions that they need to address. So there's a long list of things. I would also like to see something in terms of depth on the offensive line. They've shown over the last few years they haven't had it, and they've had to bring in guys essentially off the street that have been in the locker room a day before they play a game. Like, I don't want to have to see them go through that again. Some depth, especially at tackle, because I don't know what's going on with Trent Williams. We don't know where this is going to be, but you do know this. You're going to have to figure out who's going to play tackle for you and then probably find some depth at that position as well. So I'd really like to see them address that in the third rounder. Who knows? Maybe they get lucky and they can find a way to trade back into the second.
Well, Santana, you mentioned tight ends, and to me, that's a quarterback's best friend. And I'm looking at Thaddeus Moss out of LSU. Didn't drop a single pass last season, and, he comes from a good lineage there, last name Moss. So I would like the Redskins to get him, also add some depth at wide receiver, and I agree with you guys. I think that offensive line could use some help as well. But can we move into the second round? The next pick being 66th overall in the third round sounds a little bit rough for a team that has a lot of spots that they need to get better. So hopefully the Redskins can figure something out to jump into that second round.
It's going to be real interesting. They've got to jump in that second round if they can, if they find the right, opportunity, because you don't want to waste it just to get back in to not find the guy that you really need. So hopefully they can get that right. But right now we've got to go to Charlie Cashley, who has his own set of targets that could be a potential fit for the Redskins.
Charlie, just because the first round is done doesn't mean you can't get a player that can come in and be impactful for your team. What are some names that the Redskins should be looking at on day 2 and 3?
Well, I'll tell you what, Julie, I'm going to give you 3 names I'm excited about. Maybe they could get in the third round or maybe even slip to the fourth round. First of all, tight end, definite need. Devin Assisi from UCLA. Guy running 4.75. He's 250 to 260 in that range. Good blocker, knows how to get open, good hands. Then you go to linebacker, Malik Harrison from Ohio State. I think this guy could play either inside or outside. Runs 4.65, good cover guy, got a good instincts as a run defender. And then an offensive tackle, Matt Peart from Connecticut. 6'5 plus 36-inch arms. Good balance, moves pretty good, could use some more strength, but if he was stronger, he'd go higher. So those are 3 guys I'd be excited about if they got in that third, fourth round range.
It's kind of interesting because the Redskins told me while there are so many different positions that they need to fill, they're going to go for best player available when it comes to the third, fourth, and fifth rounds and on. Is that the best approach?
Absolutely, but the strategy there is you got 3 guys together. Sometimes what you do is you might take number 2 because you got a great feel that the guy ahead will be there in a later round. It's a little bit of a gamble. That's more of the decision they be making there. But all these 3 guys are talented guys, and I hope they can get all 3 of them.
Still to come on Draft Daily, we'll head around the rest of the league, and we'll give you some winners and losers from the first round of the draft, plus Jordan Giorgio and Andrew Gillis weigh in on how the Ravens did on Thursday night and who they might target in the later rounds.
This is Draft Daily. DC Lottery asks that you make the safe bet. Play it by the rules. Please be safe while venturing out in the district to get your essentials. Be safe. Play smart. Now, Julie Donaldson, Brian Mitchell, and Trevor Maddich with their thoughts on the first round.
The pick is in, and as expected, it is, in fact, Chase Young, a player that everybody was on board with pretty much because you saw what he did at Ohio State, 16.5 sacks, 6 strip sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and they say he hasn't even come close to reaching his potential. Trevor, when you look at Chase Young, what is it that makes him so unblockable?
Julie, he's ready to dominate in the NFL from day one, and one of the things that makes him unblockable is that he is a master hand fighter. Think of the movie Karate Kid with Mr. Miyagi. Paint the fence, wax on, wax off. That's all designed to defeat the opponent's hands as he's trying to punch you. And so no matter how big and strong you are as an offensive lineman, if you can't get your hands on him, you can't block him. And he's about impossible at the college level to get his hands on. So this is one of the reasons that he's so tough. Plus, he keeps his feet going while he is doing the hand fighting. Most defensive linemen pause their feet while they hand fight, then they restart their feet. Well, then it's too late. Chase Young can do both at the same time. That, as a foundation of his pass rush technique, is ready to succeed right now at this level.
Brian, you add him to John Allen, Matt Ioannidis, Tim Settle, Deron Payne. Is this one of the best D-lines in the NFL now?
You know what? I think they have the potential to be. I can't say that they are because they haven't been together and done it. You look at what Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis, and also Tim Settle, all four of those guys have shown great promise. Now you bring in a guy like a Chase Young. You have Ryan Kerrigan is going to be pass rushing, and also Montez Sweat doing what they do best now. They have the makings to be probably as good as anybody out there. You could think back to a few years ago when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. They had so many pass rushers. They had that NASCAR package. I anticipate seeing something like that for the Washington Redskins, and I think they're going to be in the top 5. I'll throw that out there. I can't say the best just now.
I know the hopes were there last season. It was very disappointing, but look, Chase Young automatically makes them better. It's strong unit already. But what does it mean, Trevor, for Ryan Kerrigan?
Well, it means that he's got another elite pass rusher to draw blockers and schemes away from Kerrigan. And it also means that Kerrigan can go inside even more and rush over guards. He's been doing that the last couple of years, and he excels in that tight space because he's so much more athletic than the big, clunky guards that are trying to block him. If you've got Young on one side, and he excels at rushing over the offensive right tackle, Montez Sweat coming around the other edge, Kerrigan can go inside and be a physical mismatch for anybody trying to mark him.
Trevor, Brian, what do you want to see the Redskins do as we continue on in the draft?
Well, I want to see them continue to fill some of the holes, but I think if they find guys that are going to be great fits at other positions, you may not fill every hole in this draft. But if you can fill some of the holes that are most important, you can make some of those big holes that look so bad, make them look a lot better. So I anticipate them seeing that. And also, based off what Trevor was just saying, you know, what Chase Young is going to do is unlock the talent of a lot of other guys. And if you can have all those multiple talented guys on the field at the same time, it only makes your defense better. So this is going to be an opportunity for this team to go out there and do some magnificent things. But they may not fill every hole, people, but no team has just no holes on it. Everybody has a hole. You just got to find a way to get past it.
All right, just 3 wins. Yeah, last season. There's a lot of holes that need to be filled.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, we'll see what comes up in day 2 and 3.
The first round is behind us, and that means we get to dictate who's the winners and losers of the first round. Nick, I know this is probably a segment you're going to like, so I'm going to come to you first. Who are your winners and losers from the NFL Draft's first round?
Winners are all the teams that needed a tackle that got a tackle in this draft that didn't have to trade for Trent Williams. That was one of the big things coming into the first round that we said, okay, well, look at this team like Tampa, or you look at Cleveland or the Jets. Those could be potential targets. And then they all end up having tackles fall to them in the draft, and they realize you can get younger players. They're going to be cheaper because you know you're going to have to pay Trent more on top of also giving up assets to trade for him. So if you're running all those teams, you look at this and absolutely consider that a win. And it's better if you're building a franchise too, to have the young talent, right? Like it's when you pay for guys that are on the wrong side of 30, it's not the best way to rebuild a franchise. Young guys coming in on those rookie scale contracts, that's always a plus. Now, loser, there's one that nobody's mentioned. Josh Rosen, because he just got traded to the Dolphins last year after getting traded away from the Cardinals the year before. And now the Dolphins, after the Cardinals, drafted a quarterback in the first round to essentially take a job that could have been his. He couldn't hold on to the job last year in Miami. I'm assuming he's probably going to be out the door. I don't know. Maybe they keep him as a backup. But, like, this is such a great example of how situation can dictate so much success in the NFL, especially if you're a quarterback. Because if you go to a team and they're not prepared to help prop you up, or they just don't believe in you, or it's a new coach that comes in, like any of these things, they've all happened to Josh Rosen already, and the guy's only been in the league a couple of years, so he's probably going to be somewhere else soon.
Nick, great call on the Josh Rosen pull right there. You're absolutely right. Man, I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah.
My winners and losers, this one's kind of easy. My winner is actually the Washington Redskins, not for a homer pick, but because they did what they were supposed to do, and they stayed focused, and they took the best guy who happened to be best on board and best fit for their team. That is something that a lot of teams don't have the courage to do when they know that there are other teams that are just itching to finally get up there and possibly take that pick from them. The losers are the Carolina Panthers. I mean, seriously, I get it. Derek Brown's a great nose tackle, whatever. You had Isaiah Simmons right there. All you had to do was call his name and change the trajectory of that defense. I don't know what Matt Rule's got going on down there in Charlotte. I have no idea. But if they had a chance to do something right, they whiffed so hard by going for Brown.
Well, I think the winner in my book is the Dolphins. They had a ton of picks. The talk was tank for Tua, and they got their guy. They got Tua Tagovailoa, and there's their quarterback of the future. A loser for me, Wes, I'm going to go opposite of you, is actually the Washington Redskins. It pains me a little bit to say that, but you know why? Jalen Reagor, selected by the Eagles. CeeDee Lamb, selected by the Cowboys. Two Big 12 threats that are coming in now to this division and are going to wreak havoc. And as Santana said, this defense needs some help. Yes, they got help in the front, but let's get some help in the secondary. Teams are getting better in this year's draft. But speaking of teams getting better, the Ravens also got better. So we got to send it out to Jordan Giorgio and Andrew Gillis, who broke down how the Ravens did in round one.
Well, we can all stop speculating and guessing. The Ravens fans can now open their arms and welcome linebacker Patrick Queen out of LSU to Baltimore, the first player out of LSU to be drafted by the Ravens in franchise history. And as we expected for weeks and now maybe even months, the Ravens go biggest need an inside linebacker at number 28. They select Queen, who has the explosive speed, the athleticism, and talent to have an immediate impact day one in Baltimore. Andrew, I know you're smiling about this one, as Ravens fans should be as well.
So we've talked for weeks and for honestly months about where this team needed to go and how linebacker was such an important need. And, you know, a lot of people really thought that Kenneth Murray was going to be the guy there. I know I've said that I liked Zach Bond, and one of the reasons truthfully that I liked Zach Bond was I didn't think Patrick Queen was going to be on the board. This is a home run pick for the Ravens at number 28. He's the third linebacker that they've drafted in the previous 24 years now. So he's got some good company in Baltimore. You add him in. He was a one-year starter at LSU, 6-foot linebacker, 85 tackles. He was productive in the SEC. And he makes plays, goes sideline to sideline. The Ravens coaches, we just talked to Coach John Harbaugh, Eric DeCosta. They're very excited to have him on board. Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh, they said he can play 3 downs. I mean, there's really not a way you can sit there and say that, this was a reach or this was a bad pick. This is an A. This has to be an A for me. I think it has to be an A for a lot of people too.
A no-brainer. One of the best 3-down options in this year's draft. As you said it, Eric DeCosta said it. We all know that. And he has the qualities to fit the mold of what Eric DeCosta has been looking for. Now he joins and improves one of the scariest defenses in the entire league. He comes from a championship program. He already has that championship mentality. A perfect fit. Welcome to Charm City, Patrick. But now as we look to day 2, Andrew, there's no slowing down. The Ravens can now address some other needs when it comes to wide receiver and the interior offensive line depth.
Yeah, so Eric DeCosta said that he thinks there are 25 to 30 players he can get there. So right now, wide receiver, interior offensive line, defensive line, those are the areas that I think they're going to look for first. And honestly, I think they could get some good options there.
There are definitely plenty of great options left in this year's draft, but that is a wrap on day 1. We can now all welcome Patrick Queen to Charm City.
Still plenty of players waiting to hear their name called Friday and Saturday, including Maryland running back Anthony McFarland. We'll hear from him next.
Anthony McFarland is a potential steal of a running back on day 3 of the draft because of his elite playmaking potential. At the Combine this year, he ran the 40-yard dash in 4.44, which makes him one of the fastest players there at any position. And he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. And when he's healthy, you see that flash. Against Ohio State 2 years ago, he had 3 runs of over 50 yards. The Buckeyes could not catch him when he broke into the open field. The problem is his injury history. And last year, he had a high ankle sprain, and that kind of affected how he did. His cuts were a little bit tentative at times, and I think it was because of the ankle. But if NFL teams believe that he can become healthy and stay healthy, he will probably fall to the 3rd day, and he is very possibly going to be one of the best playmaking running backs in the back half of the draft.
So the normal draft question is, what teams are showing the most interest in you, and have you talked to the Redskins? But beyond that is just, How different is this process than what you were expecting?
It's a different process, really, because I was expecting, I had some visits set up. I had a lot of visits to, to go visit a lot of teams, top 30 visits, and I'm not able to do that anymore. So now it's just a FaceTime call, just a meeting between the phone. And it kind of sucks for me because I wanted to, even though I seen a lot of the coaches and everything at the combine, I wanted to kind of, just fill in the blanks, you know what I'm saying? And, just showing my personality, showing what I'm really about. That's kind of why I was disappointed that we didn't have a top 30 visit, because it just gives you a chance to let the coaches know, what type of person you are on and off the field.
So all four of us are Terps. I think JP left that off the top.
Yes, sir.
So.
Go Terps, man.
Go Terps, baby. How well did Maryland prepare you? And honestly, playing in the Big Ten against some of the competition that you saw there, how well did that prepare you for going through this process and then obviously trying to be a pro?
It prepared me a lot, man. Like I said, going to Maryland was one of my best decisions I probably ever made. One, because I'm a home kid. I stayed home, and I don't regret it at all. Just the relationships that I've made, and all my family and friends that I'm close with, they were able to come see me play, as well as far as like me. If I would have went to Miami, and it was going to be hard for my parents and my family to come really see me play. So that's kind of the reasons why I'm glad I stayed home, just so I got to see. I felt the love and the support.
How would you describe your game as a running back?
As a running back, I describe my game. I feel like I'm very versatile. I'm decisive with my cuts, and I feel like I'm a home run hitter. I feel like anywhere on the field, I'm able to take it a distance, no matter where I'm at on the field. And I always believe every play is the big play, and that's the thing about me playing running back, because I feel like literally every single play is a big play, and it can happen anytime. So me being versatile, able to line up anywhere on the field on offense, and be able to contribute. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's what I bring to the game.
All right, so now we look ahead to day 2 of the draft. Look, there's still a lot to go, but one of the things that we've certainly stressed is the Redskins having a lot of needs, and, well, that's sort of how the draft helps you, and they could honestly use more picks. So that would be a miracle if they could just continue to add picks over the next couple of days, Wes.
Honestly, Nick, that was one of my biggest concerns, was that, okay, if you get Chase Young, but you don't have a second-round pick, that all sounds great if no other teams in the division make any moves. But now Philly and now the Cowboys have added extra weapons on the offensive side, and now you've got to struggle to kind of figure out, do we have the pieces in the secondary that can match up with those receivers? Do you have any more offensive weapons that can try to run with these teams? Who knows? But I'm struggling to come calm with the fact that the Redskins don't have a second-round pick right now.
Just like we talked about, I think, earlier this week on this show, was it would be nice to have 5 picks in the first round. Any team would be better. And what's sad is this is the reality. The Redskins just had the number 2 pick in the first round. Yes, the Dolphins look like the real winner there with all of those picks. And Wes, I'm with you. It's not looking good that the Redskins don't have a second-round pick. I know you, leading up to this draft, you wanted them to get better. They had plenty of holes. But I think that will come. I think Ron Rivera has a plan. Let's not stress out just yet. I think the plan is coming in place. But yes, other teams did get better. But I think the Redskins got better too.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head with that, Alexa, about the fact that patience is something I should give this team. And that's one thing Ron Rivera and everybody in the organization has said, that it's going to take time. So this isn't a one-year thing, so I'm fine with that. But you know what, guys? We got more draft coverage. It's been fun hanging out after day 1. Now day 2 is about to kick off. So, of course, if you are a Redskins fan, or if you just love sports, and, of course, are watching NBC Sports Washington, I implore you to hang around with us a little bit more. More draft coverage, more Redskins on the clock coming up in a bit on NBC Sports Washington.